Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and once again, it's another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And to do this show with me, as always, is the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. Josh, how are you doing? You kind of got a new fancy background there. I know you've taken a trip out to Sacramento.
Yep, I'm out here now. I'm in my spare bedroom with the art supplies here. No, yeah, man, I'm out here training. Feels good to kind of get away from Canada, Ontario for a bit, and get back to some actual regular training. And things are anyway at the gym here, anyways, are running like usual. So it's kind of nice to have some regular, life back. But yeah, it's good, man. It's always a good time going out here.
How was the trip? How was the flight experience? I mean, I know you traveled last year during a pandemic for those that one Bellator fight, but anything really different?
No, it's fine, man. Like the actual flight, the only difference you got to wear a stupid mask the whole time, but that's pretty much it. To be honest, everything else is the same.
Well, at least that's good. I guess we'll find the real issue. I guess if you when coming back, if there are any issues, and hopefully there won't be because we've discussed your feelings on certain these new regulations from the Canadian government.
Yeah, you might catch me on the news. We'll see. It won't be on the mainstream news probably because they don't like to cover that stuff, but you might see me on like Rebel News or something like that.
I really hope we don't see you on
I
Rebel
hope
News.
not.
That's the worst place we could ever see you, honestly. But
Yeah, they
well,
cover.
no, I don't want to get involved in my thoughts on Rebel News and their lack of journalistic integrity. But nonetheless,
Oh.
let's keep it moving, Josh. I mean, I know it's good to see you out there and getting some real training down at Team Alpha Male, and obviously that's kind of as you said, that's your home away from home.
Yeah. I've been coming on here for what, 6, 7 years now, so it's been a while, man. Yeah, it's my home away from home. I love the train out here. I love the people. It's great.
I guess before we get into the MMA side of things, did you hear about Tiger Woods?
I did actually. Yeah, I just heard he's in a bad car accident and had to get surgery and stuff. I don't think it's. I think it'll be like pull through, thankfully, but I'm not. I don't know the extent of the injuries.
Yeah, apparently, like he's already had surgery or still in surgery for all we know. But it was like he has a shattered ankle and like another broken leg. So, all things considered, for like what that car accident looked like,
Yeah.
he's gonna pull out. Like his injuries were non-life threatening, and the police officers at the scene made it seem like they didn't even bother taking like a blood alcohol test or anything like that. Like no sign of a DUI or anything like that. Just what can happen when you're on the road and an accident, and
Yeah.
it sucks to see, but glad to see that it looks like Tiger will pull through.
Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, it's just different when it's a big time celebrity, right? But these things happen every day. Unfortunately, it sucks. But yeah, I'm glad to hear he's okay.
Yeah, and all the best to Tiger and his family during this crazy couple hours that's been. But Josh, let's get into the realm of mixed martial arts as it was a heavyweight filled card last Saturday for the UFC. We had four heavyweight fights, highlighted by the main event of Derrick Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes. And we talked about Derrick Lewis. He's a really made some changes. He's lost some weight, had some surgeries, and you could kind of see that improvement really benefited him in that fight as Blaydes kept shooting in for those takedowns, couldn't get them, and when he shot in for a takedown, he got met with a nasty uppercut and put him out, hit his head at the canvas, and then followed up with like three shots. But Derrick Lewis, this new and improved Derrick Lewis is really proving like he's definitely 1A or 1B fighting for the heavyweight title next.
Yeah, it's just that power, man. If he hits you once, that's all it takes, right? But I thought he actually looked sloppy in the first round. To be honest, I thought I Blades won the first round. I thought he was doing well. To be honest, it's not staying in the pocket and Blades or Lewis looking sloppy, swinging really really wild punches and just trying to kill him. Um, and yeah, just I think going in the second, Blades just it's so, you know, the game plan, right? He knows what he's going to do. He said he was loading up the uppercut the whole time or the knee, which is what you want to do against a wrestler that you know is going to take you down. But yeah, just those setups I think were the key, and I just don't think he set it up enough to take that shot, and he paid for it. But up until that, you know, I had Blaydes winning the fight.
Yeah, Blaydes to me definitely did win the first round. Like, he was able to get his striking off and respected the power of Lewis. Was able to be at distance, even though he couldn't get the takedown. But I think with Derrick Lewis and you know, these surgeries and whatever, the one thing where he's looking lighter, but he's got underrated takedown defense. Like, a lot of these guys that try to take him down, they've had some difficulty just because he's got crazy balance for a guy of his height and his weight. And he made life a little bit difficult there for Blaydes. And, you know, I mean, we have to look at Lewis, though, as like one of the hardest hitting fighters in the history of the sport, because I can't think of another fighter other than maybe, I guess, Francis Ngannou even right now. But, like, he touches you with one clean shot, it's over.
Yeah, that's why it's exciting to watch him, right? But yeah, he has shown, like, you know, major improvements in his takedown defense game and his ability to get back up. You know, I'm trying to think. The only person I seen really, as of recent, take him down and kind of control him was DC, and just DC, just this wrestling's on another level, right? But yeah, he's improving, man. And like I said, one big shot, you know, and that's heavyweights, dude. For guys like that, Francis, him, that's all it takes. But if you mix that in with perfect timing and precision and you know, distance management, that's when you start landing the big shots. So that's what he did.
What did you think about I know there's been a big thing on Twitter about, like, you know, the extra shots that Lewis did land after Blaydes was totally out, even before he hit the canvas. Like, were they unnecessary, or is it just a thing where you guys as fighters are told, keep punching until the ref says stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of gray area where you keep going until you're told stop or pulled off, for sure, because you've seen in many fights where you kind of stop and then the ref doesn't do anything, and then it's all kind of this weird in between stage and the fight continues and it's very controversial. So you always go until they say stop, for sure. There is, like, you know, a sportsman-like attitude when you know the guy's totally unconscious, and you can see it, and then you, like, go in for the kill. But in the same time, when you're in a fight, man, it's like you're going for the kill, and you kind of, you don't stop until you're stopped. Like, the ref pulls you off, you just keep going. You kind of get that, you know, instinctual, that animal, you know, primal, just, you know, kill be killed type attitude. So I can't understand it in that sense. But yeah, I mean, as speaking for myself, if I got somebody knocked out and I can see that they are totally knocked unconscious, then, you know, I'm gonna stop. But like I said, it's sometimes you get in the heat of the moment and things just keep going.
Yeah, I think that one was tough just because, like, the knockout was so violent, and then how he hit it, Blaydes hit his head on the back. And I mean, I'm not going to fault Herb Dean for, you know, a bad stoppage or letting those extra shots happen, because that does unfortunately happen in this sport, and I can see both sides of it. But if you're pretty much told, right, like, keep fighting until yeah, like, I'm not,
that one wasn't nearly, like, I wouldn't have called any really you know, I don't think it was that bad. But there was one I watched actually recently. I can't remember if it was in LFA or if it was one. I can't remember, but the guy was totally unconscious, dropped, and then the guy just came down with, like, a hammer fist on the back of the head before the ref could get in. That one was like,
oh yeah, that was LFA. That was like LFA? Stephen Wynn last Friday night. Yeah.
That one was definitely, you know, worse, way worse than this, for sure. So that was, you know, so I mean, it's tough, man. You're told to keep going until you're told to stop. So, I mean, that's what the ref is there for. But at the same time, you try to be, like, you know, you want to, in my mind anyway, I want to beat my guy. I want to hurt him in the cage, but I don't want to end his life, you know what I mean? Or, you know, physically hurt him for the rest of his life, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why you're the gentleman of mixed martial arts, Josh, right? Like, you gotta live the gimmick there. But yeah, I didn't think it was as bad. It just looked worse just from the violence of the original knockout and then hitting there. But Derrick Lewis, like, let's talk about it. This is a guy that's, in a quick amount of fights, has really put himself in a position to, on the verge of fight for a heavyweight title, or at least maybe fight the winner of this upcoming weekend's Rozenstruik Cyril Gane fight. But Like, give it up for Lewis. Like, he was kind of surprised he fought for the title against Cormier, and now he's like motivated to fight for a title, and he's looking like title material.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love. He's hilarious, dude. So anytime he fights, I'm entertained, and I just think he's a funny dude, and I like watching him fight. But, yeah, I think that's a perfect matchup. He called it Overeem next, but I think that's just to be honest, that's a I don't want to say easy win, but I think he'll knock Overeem out, especially right now in his career. I don't like that matchup for Reem. But I think, yeah, the winner of Gane and what's the name? Rozenstruik.
Rozenstruik, yeah.
Rozenstruik?
Jairzinho Rozenstruik, yes.
Rozenstruik. Yeah, I think the winner of that would be I think then maybe, that would be a number one contender match.
It definitely could be. I mean, we know John Jones is probably fighting the winner of the heavyweight title fight of Miocic and Ngannou, as that's kind of the big splash they want to have back in the heavyweight division. But, yeah, I mean, Lewis just – I think he would – if he'd want to wait or maybe be a replacement in that scenario if something happens to Ngannou or, Jones, if they get to that point of the fight, he could be there. But he seems like the guy that just wants to keep fighting and sign him up for another fight with the winner of Rozenstruik and Gane, because there's really right now just a tier of real good contenders right now for that heavyweight title, especially after March 27th at UFC 260.
Yeah. I mean, he's right there. Any of those guys, those top 5-6 guys would be easy matchups.
And then poor Curtis Blaydes. Like, this was a guy that was, 2 in the rankings. As, we've talked about the rankings, how much, what do they mean? But he was still trying to cash in with one fight left on his deal, potentially getting himself in that spot that Lewis is in now. You get viciously knocked out like that, and then you had some fan troll him and get his cell phone number and call him to chirp him, which, first of all, fans, if you ever get a MMA fighter's number, never call them just to troll them. That's just dumb, and record it. And then thankfully this fan got what he had coming through the fans of Blaydes and just the decency of it. But I just feel bad for Blaydes a little bit. That's a bad knockout. He probably shouldn't fight for a while until he gets his bearings under him. But he may not have to fight the loser of a Gane or Rozenstruik, or maybe an Overeem for him.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks anytime you're that close to a title shot and then you're on the brink of it, and then you get a loss and a devastating one. It sucks for sure. And then, yeah, the fans in this sport, man, they're some of the best, and then it's one or the other, really. You want some of the best fans, they're awesome, they're so appreciative, they have so much respect for the guys in the sport, and then you have just pieces of shit like that just that put a bad name on it, and there's so many of them too. So that sucks. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where he goes from now. But yeah, I don't know if they would give him a top guy right away. We'll see how they kind of deal with him. But yeah, I know he's already fought Overeem before and he beat him, but someone down the line in that top 5 to 10 range, if you're gonna go by rankings.
Yeah, I don't know. For me right now, I just want to see Blaydes get healthy and get over that, because that was a vicious knockout. And you saw even when he got up, right? He asked what happened. He didn't even realize he'd been in a fight. So those are always the ones.
Sometimes, yeah, when you do get knocked out, most time you don't know what happened, what he got hit with. Really, just you don't really remember usually, anyway.
But just how he was literally asleep and looked like he'd been tombstoned by the Undertaker in the octagon. I don't want to make it seem funny, but he was really hurt and out like that. When the camera doesn't shoot you after a knockout, that's when it's a serious, you've been really knocked out type of situation. So I just want Blaydes to get healthy, get back in there, because he looked like he had shown improvements in, with how he used his striking, and we know his wrestling is probably one of the best in the heavyweight division. So a healthy Blaydes and coming back in some time and against whoever he may be, I'm all for. But that was the main event of a very interesting fight night card, Josh. I mean, we had a lot of finishes on this fight, and as well a lot of heavyweight fights, as we talked about 4 heavyweight fights on this card, and a couple prospects like Sergey Spivak and Tom Aspinall really shined out.
Yeah, that was how did he finish him? Was it strikes, right? Early? Was that the one?
Which one? Well, there was
when he fought Olenek, right?
That was Chris Daukaus, actually.
Daukaus, that was Daukaus, yeah. Yeah, he looked good. I mean, Alexei Olnik, I love him, the old guy, and he's so good at what he does. But his striking is god awful, man. It's just so sloppy. It's just winging punches, hopefully getting closing distance and getting it to the ground. Very much like a 1919 or 1999 version of MMA. It's style like very one dimensional in that sense. But I was hoping he could get into the ground and pull off some crazy, but he got exposed against a younger, faster, sharper striker, and he put it on him.
Yeah, I mean, Olynyk was looking to try to pull Dawkins on top to go for that Von Flue, but Dawkins was able to. Ezekiel, excuse me, yeah, and he was trying to, get that, but Dawkins had enough, strength and ability to turn it, and then, lit him up on the feet, and that's one of those as well. Like, I don't want to see Olynyk keep fighting if he's going to take punishment like that. He took nasty punishment in his last fight to Derrick Lewis, and now a young, much younger, more powerful Chris Dawkins, like. Maybe it's time you start thinking about packing it in like Alexei. Like you said, I love him and what he's done for the sport, but I just don't want to see people get hurt, especially as they're getting up there in age.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes a time where you gotta realize if these guys are just too good for you to compete with, and you're too. I guess the biggest thing was really the speed, right? Like it just when you get too slow and you can't set things up, and it just these guys are teeing off, and when you're the thing with heavyweights too, they're just because they hit so hard because their size and mass, man, like so they can create a lot of damage, right? So usually when you see guys later in life that have repercussions from head trauma, it's usually bigger guys, right? Like heavyweight boxers or football players that getting hit by big men, right? So it's like that's usually the scare. I mean, it can happen to any fighter, but that's usually the scare. So yeah, you don't want to see that happen to somebody that just sticks around too long.
No, you do not, especially for someone that's done a lot and fought in like 4 different decades, right? Like he fought in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now in the 2020s. But yeah, good for Chris Dawkins, a guy that's now 3-0 in the UFC, all 3 wins by first round finish, and definitely probably going to be one of those guys that cracks in the rankings. Don't know where it means for him, but I guess getting a ranking beside your name is, a positive step for your career, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. As much as they, like I say, they don't mean shit, but I guess it is good for your career. That's for sure.
But the other heavyweights, like there was Tom Aspinall, he fought Arlovsky, and we haven't really seen someone kind of. Arlovsky's the gatekeeper, right, at heavyweight. If you want to be a serious contender at 265 pounds, you got to get by Andrei Arlovsky, and we haven't really seen someone kind of manhandle the former UFC heavyweight champion like that in quite a while. Or maybe even at all, I should say. And, Aspinall took his back early in the second round, choked him out. And it's just crazy. Like, another guy that's been fighting for a while. Like, Arlovsky made his UFC debut in the year 2000. Aspinall made his debut just last year in 2020. So 20-year difference between debuts in the UFC. But Aspinall's proven to be the truth as well.
Yeah, I was hoping Arlovsky would mix it up a bit and just, like, he didn't, he just stays in that pocket and that gets brawly with these guys. And I always question him getting tagged with something, that's gonna put him out just because he's been in so many freaking wars, right? But yeah, I was hoping he'd mix it up a bit and shoot some takedowns, but he for the most part kept it on the feet, and then it was actually the other guy that took him down and immediately took his back, and as he kind of took his back, it just sunk that arm in and got the choke in deep right away. Kind of, I mean. I don't want to say sloppy on Arlovsky's part, but yeah, sloppy turning your back like that and exposing your neck. When you give up your back, the first thing somebody's gonna go for your neck. So, but I mean, shit happens in a fight, and I'm a big Andre fan, so I just love seeing him do well. But yeah, he just was outmatched in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I know they'll probably bring Arlovsky back, right? Because they just love him, and he's done so much for them, and it seems like a mutual thing right now where they're both on good terms, and he may ride out his contract, and we'll see where it goes. But good win for Aspinall, right? You get over the gatekeeper in such impressive fashion. And the other one was Sergey Spivak, which was the first fight where he really manhandled Jared Videra. Like Videra had like a 20-pound weight advantage coming into the fight, and Spivak was just able to throw him around at ease and get some nasty ground and pound that busted open Videra, and then gets the stoppage maybe a little bit later than it should have been, but he gets a big win. And this prospect from Moldova is someone I'm really big on. He may not be super flashy on the stand-up, but when he takes to the ground, he can get you there by, hurling you down and either choke you out or ground and pound you.
Yeah, I didn't see this fight. I missed it. Was it earlier?
It was the first fight, yes.
Yeah, I missed it. I came in a bit later, so I can't really comment much on it. But I know they love having guys from kind of different countries, little weird countries you don't really hear about that much. Not weird countries, but uncommon countries, I should say. So yeah, they love banking on those type of things, right? Bring new fans into it.
I just thought this was a solid card for, seeing the growth of the heavyweight division, where you not only see, a near another title contender in now Derrick Lewis, but there's a lot of solid prospects at 265 pounds, and heavyweight's is the most exciting it's been in at least 10 years, especially and as well going into next weekend with this weekend with the main event of Rozenstruik and Cyril Gane.
Yeah, heavyweight took a shit there for a while. It was just like, I'm trying to it was probably like when like Tim Sylvia was the champ, that those were kind of like the era where it wasn't very great, but yeah, it's kind of made a resurgence and it's I mean, heavyweight, to most people, especially like the more casual fans, it's like the division, because it's always the baddest man on the planet is the heavyweight champion, especially in boxing and same thing in MMA. So, but it's nice to see it's kind of back to the swing of that, and it actually has some good prospects and some good champs there.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the key to it right now is they're really building that division up with a lot of solid names and a lot of guys that have some flash in them. They can get it done on the feet or on the ground if needed. And
yeah, I like to see. I mean, to be honest, heavyweight, I either love it or hate it. I love seeing good heavyweights that are technical, that are explosive, that have good conditioning, that are, power obviously. But you see sometimes you get those ones where it's like if they don't knock each other out in the first 3 minutes, it's like the worst thing to watch ever, man. It's like sloppy. It's so untechnical. It's just like, yeah, it's brutal. But we're seeing less and less than that. We're seeing a lot more guys that are top notch players.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's been kind of the name of heavyweight, right? If the first 5 minutes are exciting, the next 10 are going to be a snail's pace to the finish. But it seems like the UFC's obviously gotten to that point where they didn't want to see that anymore, and got some good prospects that are going to make sure that it's either going to be a finish or they have at least a good gas tank to make it towards the finish line.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, exactly. But, on this card, Josh, there was something interesting that happened that we've never seen happen in MMA, where the Skelly fight, where he walks out to the cage and his opponent, Jamall Emmers, unfortunately suffers back spasms and the fight's called off. But, what a crazy situation, like something we've never seen. And I guess maybe one of the better moments there where we didn't have fans, because you imagine what it'd be like coming back after you won, but you really didn't win. But nonetheless, I thought Skelly handled himself really well, demanding that he get his win bonus, and did a really good post-fight interview with Bisping afterwards.
Yeah, I just heard about it afterwards. So the guy was just warming up, and then right before he's come out, he gets back spasms, and he can't.
It was literally, moments before he's supposed to make his walkout, because Chas had gone in there, been in the prep point in the cage, but his music kept playing for an extra minute or two, so you knew something was up. And then they cut his music off, and then did
they declare it a win?
They just said the fight was canceled, so they didn't call it a win. But but Chas says, I hope I get my win bonus, which I can totally see why. He made the weight, he made the walk, and actually entered the cage, so he should be given some sort of a credit for a win there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about that. Give him the guys due for sure. But I hope they don't count it as an actual win. It should just be nothing. There's no fight.
I think they just scrapped the fight pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean that sucks. You don't see that often, man, right? I mean, you hear stories of guys getting hurt warming up and stuff like that, but it's usually not that close to your walkout, right? Usually by then you're good to go. But I mean, shit happened.
It does happen, and I mean, as well, I think props to Chas where he didn't take it out and be negative on his opponent Jamall, because you said these things happen, and sometimes your body just quits on you, and it just has a moment like that. And obviously it seems like they'll get rematched down the line once Jamall's, over these back issues and more healthy and whatnot. But, just a weird moment. Like, I can never think of that ever happening in the history of MMA.
No, I don't. Not that close to a walkout anyway. I don't think so.
Yeah, we've had like opponents either, pass out or faint or
Get
slip
hurt.
slip on something backstage, but it's not like as their fight is about to walk.
No, yeah, usually, I mean, everybody's different, but for that point, I guess maybe he had like I've had back issues, so I know what it's like. Maybe he had issues before, and then after his warm up, it just started getting tighter and tighter. I've had that in too, or in training, it's kind of uncomfortable, and then the longer I train, the more my back seizes up, and then you start getting like spasms like that. So that definitely be a possibility. Maybe he was dealing with an injury prior, and he just kind of worked through it through camp, but now it just flared up at the worst time.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel bad for Jamall. I feel bad for Chas as well because he's a guy that he's been dealing with injuries and finally gets a chance to come back, and he's in the cage waiting for his fight, and then it doesn't end up happening. But I thought Chas handled it as a professional, and didn't, like I said, didn't slag Emmers, and wants to keep fighting, and I would hope they make this fight again. But the last thing on this card before we move on to some of the other news that happened this past week, Josh. So at the weigh-ins, Rafael Alves missed weight by almost 12 pounds, like 11 and a half pounds. He missed by 2 weight classes. The fight was pulled. Like, I know we've talked about weight issues and, fighters missing weight, but, like, this is one of the most embarrassing weight misses I've ever seen for anyone in combat sports, let alone MMA. Like, he missed by 2 weight classes. Like, that, to me, that's a fireable offense.
Yeah, it's almost comedic. Like how, like I don't like what are you doing? What happened? You know what I mean? Like to miss weight by that much is either you didn't train at all for this fight and you had zero intentions of making weight, or you just you're way too big and you just thought you could start losing, like shedding pounds, shedding water, and it just wouldn't come off for some I don't know. But to miss weight by that much, you see like 3-4 pounds is a huge miss. You know what I mean? That's a big miss. You see a guy that misses by 0.5 or 1 pound, that could be just you misread the scales, you timed it wrong, your body just kind of quit at the end. It could be one of those things that I don't get me wrong, I don't like missing weight, but shit happens at the very end. Where if you miss by that margin, that might it's still your fault, but it's a little bit more forgivable. But yeah, to miss weight by that much, man, like to miss weight by the weight class above you is an absolute joke. And yeah, dude, this guy, I mean, he should never be able to fight at 45 again. At least, I mean, I know all states are different, but at least in that state, I think it should be, across the board. But yeah, that's a joke.
Yeah, apparently Alves said he was eating salmon before the fight. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I know from just, being around, some of the shows that, we've done and seeing the fighters, they're not eating salmon or anything like that the day before they're weighing in or a couple days before they're dying out there trying to, cut those last bit of pounds so they can, hit the weight limits before their fight.
Yeah, I don't understand what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, so what you're eating salmon, walking up to the scale? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what he's talking about, but it doesn't matter regardless. Whatever you did, you fucked up, and it was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, that's the most unprofessional thing you could do. I mean, missing weight is so unprofessional as it is, but to do it to that degree is just it's intolerable.
Yeah, because, as they were weighing in for this UFC card, the LFA fighters had weighed in the previous day. And I know Nate Smith, who was supposed to fight for their flyweight title, he missed weight by 4 pounds. But I gave Smith the pass because he took this fight on a week's notice or so because the original opponent had some, travel issues and whatnot. And as you're supposed to make weight, especially for a title fight, if you're taking a fight on a week's notice like that, I would give some slack. But for Alves to miss, like as we said, by 2 weight classes, I don't know how he can come back to the UFC.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably if I'm running the show, I'd turf a guy for doing that. You know what I mean? And I've seen guys miss weight before and smaller shows by like a crazy amount, not by that much, but like by like 4 pounds or so. And then you're like, okay, you give them an hour, even though like they're not going to make it, but you just kind of make them sweat it out, make them suffer a bit more. And if they come down a bit, you might do it at a catch weight. But then, I've seen guys that come back even heavier in that hour. So that's just, that's another sign of disrespect. You're just, obviously you're not giving it your all to do this. So, but yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, a record for the UFC in terms of pounds missed for a weight class of 11.5 pounds, breaking Anthony Johnson's when he fought Vitor Belfort when he missed by 11 pounds. So I guess that's, you're in the record books for something, not what you want to be, but congratulations there to Rafael Alves.
Yeah, that sucks, man. It'll always be on you. You know what I mean? I never miss weight. Don't ever miss weight. I never do it.
No, definitely do not miss weight. Well, that was last weekend's UFC, and before we get to kind of looking at this upcoming weekend's UFC card, kind of wanted to talk to you about, Bellator announcing these media rankings. Now, as we've talked many times on the show, even on this episode, rankings, do they mean much? Who knows? But Bellator's decided they're going to have a media panel, and as someone proudly rocking his Bellator hat and being a Bellator fighter, what are your thoughts on these ranking systems, Josh?
My thoughts on ranking. You know what I mean? I think they're bullshit. I think they're all bullshit. The only rankings that make sense in any type of a mixed martial arts realm right now are the PFL ones, because it's like a league. You know what I mean? You're getting points for your performance. You're getting, obviously more for the first round, second round, third round, whatnot, and wins. So that's the only way I could see it. And it's not really ranked. It's more like your points, and then you're seeded based on your points, just like an NHL or whatnot. So I understand that's more, that makes sense to me. But as far as rankings for the UFC, for Bellator, sure, they're great because it looks good. You got numbers beside your name, and it kind of makes it, seem like this is how it's going to go. I'm involved in it. I'm going to be ranked, so that's cool. I'll use it to my advantage and say I'm number whatever. But overall, I don't really think it means not anything. You know what I mean? Because you've seen it in the UFC where, it's not always the number one guys fighting for the title and circulates, and it's all just kind of, subjective to who you want to go where, you know what I mean? So one guy could win a fight and move up one spot, but another guy could win a fight and move up 8 spots. So how do you really know? It looks cool. It looks like, it has some structure, and it's probably better. I understand why they're doing it for the promotions, because it looks more for the casual fan. Oh, that's the number one guy. He's always fighting the number 3 ranked guy in the world. So I understand that sense, and I'm cool with that. But overall, it really doesn't mean anything.
Well, yeah, I always thought when the UFC did it, I thought it was just going to be big bad for business. And we've seen it time and time again where the champion's fighting the number 4 guy for the title. So what happened to the other 3 guys? Why isn't it like the number one should be the number 1 contender? I mean, the logic to me is out the window for how the UFC does it. Hopefully Bellator maybe has more of a structure behind it. I know they have now this big media panel, and they unveiled, the media members, and there's some very credible media members. But I mean, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the media now being involved with this ranking? Because to me, it kind of puts them in a sticky situation where it kind of hurts, I guess, some of the credibility in, maybe their stories or their interviews with some fighters. Like, if I had the opportunity, I would have probably said no, just because I've seen so much stickiness in other sports with media members doing rankings, whether it was college football or now going in here to MMA. Like, it's kind of just not a good look, I think, for a media member to be in there and still like have a good, a work rapport with the fighters that they're ranking now.
Yeah, that's why all rankings don't work. And whether I've seen a lot of people chime in saying it should be ex-fighters doing the rankings and whatnot, and I can understand where they're coming from. But what happens when my training partner is one of the guys that ranks. You know, he's going to put me
Yeah.
higher. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be a conflict of interest. Same with the media. Say you were one of these members, you know, you're going to rank me higher probably, even though, you know, you're going to try and be unbiased, but there's always going to be that connection there, right? So that's why, and the same with the UFC, the way, you know, they're not doing, I don't know how they're doing it. Are they doing media too, or no? Is it just like
They
group
have
people?
like I guess it's part of Media Pebble members, but they're not really released to the public. It's kind of like a panel, whereas
Yeah.
Bellator openly said who their panel is and trying to be transparent with that.
Yeah, and that's cool. Like I said, I'm cool with what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it, and I'll utilize it for sure. But yeah, I just don't think that really means a whole lot. Like I said, the only way to do it is like points structure and seedings, like PFL is doing it because it makes more sense because it's more of a league based. But if it's not league based, it doesn't really, you know, make a whole lot of sense. But again, I'm going to go back to it. I said, you know, I know why they're doing it, and I'll play along. You know what I mean? But it just, like I said, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything really, because it could, like I said, the number 5 ranked guy could get the title shot next. You don't know. You know what I mean? Or the number 1 guy or the number 6 guy. You know, so it's just so subjective.
Well, I mean, I guess in the great words of Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last, right? So I think that's what it comes down to. Obviously, everyone wants to be the champion and stuff, but it just, I understand what Bellator's doing, trying to be, I guess, transparent, as we said, with, you know, this is our panel, and they're solid media members. I know a lot of them, have relationships with a lot of them, but I just feel like it's going to be a conflict of interest down the line, right? Like, you know, if someone ranks fighter B over fighter A, when you have to interview fighter A, there's going to be maybe a negative intention for that fighter coming into the interview, just because you know how fighters can be. They take this stuff very personal.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, and the UFC and Bellator is going to be used the same way. It's just going to be used to way to introduce somebody. You know what I mean? That's all it is, and that's cool. I see that. I see like why they would want that too. Like, yeah, I'm interviewing the number 7th ranked bantamweight in the world, you know, or the number 1 ranked bantamweight in the world. You know what I mean? So they can use it like that as a kind of like the introduction of whoever they're talking to, whoever they're announcing. So I get it in that sense, and it makes sense for that because it just kind of adds more mystique and more hype to the promotion, which is cool. So I get in that sense, but like I said, it's just like there's no like rhyme or reason. There's no real like structure of how you move up to. I know you know you're gonna beat a guy that's ranked higher and you're gonna go up, but how far is it you're gonna go up? Does that mean you take his spot? You know what I mean? So there's no real clear cut way to do that. So that's why it's just so kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it works out. I'm interested to see how it works out. I mean, I know Bellator still have a couple months before they run their first show in April, but I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see how they do it, or if they can try to do anything maybe different other than, you know, here's our media panel and whatnot. I don't know, but
I
nonetheless,
think it's going to be no harm. Like, you know what I mean?
oh yeah.
Same with the UFC. There's no harm in it. I don't see the harm in it at all. Like I said, it's good for the promotion, but it's just going to be, you know, here's your number 3 ranked guy in the world. Here's your number 4 ranked guy in the world. That's all it'll be. And if we leave it at that, then I'm cool with it. But yeah, it doesn't really mean, you know, you're getting, you know, a title shot next or you're fighting this guy next. It just kind of puts a number beside your name of arguably where you're at in the division.
I mean, Bellator is still, though, right? Like, they haven't done it yet. They can actually try to use it where, okay, you actually have to fight your way up to be number 1 as the number 1 contender to fight for the title. Like, and if they do that, then I'm all for their ranking system, because to me, the champion should always fight the number 1 guy in the division, not as I said before. We've seen plenty of times in the UFC, it's 1 versus 6, but that doesn't make any sense if you're a casual fan. How does, you know, the 6th guy leapfrog 5 other people? And I always thought that was a killer for their business, but they've somehow made it work. And the only reason the UFC did it is for Fox when they jumped on there, because, you know, Fox obviously big into, you know, the NFL, college football, and what have you. But I don't know. Bellator, there's still lots of positive hope for it. So, I mean, I can't judge and hate on it. I just had some thoughts and wanted to get your take on it, especially fighting for the promotion, right? Like, you're going to be in these rankings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, better be number 1. No, I mean technically I shouldn't be number 1 because Pettis is fighting Archuleta, right? So he's should be technically number 1, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter either way. It's cool. I'll utilize it, and you know, But like I said, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it, where you're ranked and whatnot. Because it also, you can go by like, this guy's 3-0 in Bellator, but he's fought lesser competition, and this guy's 2-0 in Bellator, but he's fought two killers. So how does that match the rankings? Is it just because his record, or is it overall record, or record in Bellator? You know what I mean? So there's so many tangibles that kind of go along with it. I don't really know how they do it, but like I said, it doesn't matter. It's all good. I'm in the top 5. That's all. I know that for sure. So we'll see where they place me once the rankings come out.
Yeah, we definitely know you're in the top 5. As there's been the big social media push for, hey fans, where would you rank these 5 Bellator bantamweights? So also, I guess Bellator trying to see where their fans would be on there. But yeah, I guess we got to get the campaign going. Hill for one.
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess, like I said, number 2, right? Because it'd be
number 2. Yeah, number 2 for after May 7th.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So fight news hopefully coming soon. But I have nothing confirmed yet, so we'll talk about that when it's confirmed.
Yes, we will, and hopefully, that gets me positive. You're out there training right now in California, in Sacramento, so it's just leading to a positive thing to eventually get yourself out there. But I don't know, just had to get your thoughts on that. And like I said, there's still lots of room for Bellator to work with it and do we know how everyone is. Once someone comes out with an idea, it's mostly hated on before it's even put into function. And I have my qualms with it. And there's other ways I think they could do the rankings. Like there's kind of like a computer system where it bases like your ranking off like your data for your wins and how you get your wins. I don't know. They could maybe do that, but they've chose this media system. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm cool with it. I'm all for it. Like I said, it is what it is. I think there's no harm in it, and it's just a bunch of people, with all their opinions kind of combined to see who should be ranked where, just based on their wins and whatnot. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of April though, I side tangent here. PFL, they announced their first card with the actual matches that are gonna be out there, and the co-main and main, like Anthony Pettis, Clay Collard in the lightweight bracket, and Bubba Jenkins, Lance Palmer in the featherweight one. Like,
yeah,
this is a banging return for the PFL in my mind, just on those 2 fights alone.
Yeah, it would be good, man. I'm pumped to watch those. A few guys that I know and train with on that card, and yeah, it'd be cool to see Pettis in a different organization, and just to see PFL back in general. I'm stoked to see. I do like their format. I think it's great. Yeah, man, I'm pumped. More shows we get to see, the better.
As I think I said a couple weeks ago, April, insane for MMA, especially with like a couple big middleweight tilts in the UFC. PFL's back, Bellator's back. One championship is on TNT in the United States on premium cable. So, there's a lot to be excited for in April if you're a mixed martial arts fan.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. That's you got all your top 4 big promotions going full tilt, and you're gonna have MMA. Probably twice a week, every week at least, for that month.
And of course, the biggest one of them all, WrestleMania.
Mania, yeah, for sure. I've been kind of like, I don't follow it like I used to. I'll tune in here and there. I guess I'd be a casual when I watch it. You know what I mean? I'll watch like the Royal Rumble and I'll watch Mania. Those are probably the 2 that I can keep up with. I just can't keep up with. There's too much of my life. But yeah, I always do watch Mania, and I always get a kick out of it, man, for sure.
2-night event again, Josh.
Is
Saturday
it again?
and Sunday.
Really, eh? And no, it just feels so weird when it's no fans.
Oh, there will be fans.
Oh, is there fans?
They're going to Raymond James Stadium with the limited fans. Raymond James is where the Buccaneers play. They just had the Super Bowl there.
Okay.
So there will be fans for the first time since like February.
Good. That's good, man. Because it just doesn't feel the same if it's not in some big, crazy place with the production value is insane. But yeah, I'll watch it. I'll definitely tune in, bro.
We'll definitely get a review going. But for the first time in like a long time, it UFC and WWE going head to head on the Saturday.
On the Saturday? Oh yeah, because the 2-nighter, right? Yeah, that's weird. That's definitely weird to see. We'll see. The wrestling fans, they're loyal, man. They stick to their thing, and I think a lot of them MMA fans, there's very few that kind of I guess there is that crossover and like both. I guess there is, but the diehard MMA fans will watch that, and then the diehard wrestling fans will be watching that. So it'd be weird to see how it kind of.
Well, I know UFC's trying to stack that Saturday card to be a free card on on ABC actually, so ABC 2. So I wonder if they'll put it in the earlier time slot so it doesn't kind of cross the spectrum there. So I mean, to me, that'll be interesting. What they do end up have there.
Yeah, that would be smarter, I think, to be honest. Going.
It'd make my life a lot easier. Let's be real. Let's put it that way. It'd make my life a lot easier if they went and did that.
Yeah, and going up against Vinnie Mac, you know what I mean? I don't know if you can. He's the best there is ever for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild April for everyone, especially highlighted by the biggest sporting event of them all, WrestleMania. But before I get you out of here, Josh, we got to look a little bit at this upcoming weekend's UFC card. We know the main event, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Ciryl Gane. I mean, Ciryl Gane, a guy that's, first fight ever as a professional, won the TKO heavyweight championship. A guy a lot of people, myself included, feel will probably be a heavyweight champion within a year or two. But he's taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who has some crazy power. He has a very quick knockout under his belt, a 10-second knockout in one of his UFC debut. But he's coming off a big win against JDS back in August. I don't know. This is an interesting fight, a real step up for Ciryl Gane. But I think if Gane passes it, he would definitely solidify himself as what the hype is real for him.
Yeah. I fought on the same card as him, and I got to see him fight, and I was like, dude, that guy's gonna be good. Like he doesn't move like a heavyweight,
I was gonna ask you that. Did you fight on the same card? But obviously you have.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, he's good, man. He's just big, durable, good striker. He's got a good ground game from what it looks like. I mean, I haven't got to see a whole lot of his wrestling. But I'm sure it's decent. And he, like I said, he doesn't move. He moves like a welterweight. You know what I mean, for a heavyweight dude. So, and he's so agile and athletic. So I think he's got a bright future for sure. I think this is will be obviously his biggest win and I do think he'll get it done.
I mean, the thing with Ciryl Gane is, like, yeah, he can knock you out. He's got insane power, but he's got some submission victories under his belt. Yeah, exactly. A heel hook submission over Don'Tale Males. He's got an arm triangle choke. Like, his first couple wins in the UFC were by submission, not knockout. And I mean, he also just lit up Junior Dos Santos in his last fight before back in November. So I mean, Gane is a guy a lot of people are buying in as a future champion. Like I said, I'm one of them. And I think he probably finds a way to get this done early again, second round, maybe third at the latest. But I just think he's got too much of a solid pedigree and base to get stuck up here by Rozenstruik.
I think so. I mean, that's the only way he loses, if Rozenstruik catches him with something, big shot. But it could happen. It's heavyweight, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, when I look at this card, it's one of those that you don't really know a lot of the names. I mean, unless you're a diehard like Kevin Krum, Bruce Lee Roy, that'll be fun. Angela Hill, Ashley Yoder, which they kind of just announced, will be really fun. Yeah, they kind of just pulled that out of nowhere. But, I mean, Angela always brings it, and Yoder's a very durable fighter. But we did lose a couple weeks ago this fight. Pedro, Munoz, Jimmy Rivera. Well, it's back. It's happening this upcoming Saturday. And I think this is a solid fight for 135 pounds in the UFC.
Yeah, I like this. I like this match. That was one that was bummed that it got canceled. These guys are very, very close, very similar, statures. I would say... I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Munoz, the slight edge. But I could definitely see this one going all 3 rounds and Munoz pulling out the decision.
Yeah, I'm leaning Munoz. Like, I know Rivera is coming off a win in his last fight against Cody Stamann back in July. But just looking at the last 2 guys that Munoz has fought, he lost that tough split decision to Frankie Edgar in Frankie's debut at bantamweight after they tried to make that fight like 3 times. And then, losing to now the #1 contender for the bantamweight title, Aljamain Sterling. So he's beaten a former champion in Cody Garbrandt. Like, I think there's just a lot more that says I'm gonna go with Munoz here. He fought Frankie really hard as well, like a couple rounds on the scorecards in my eyes as well.
Yeah.
So I'm leading with you as well. I'll go with Munoz over Rivera in that one.
Yeah, nothing to say on that one. That's it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and like these cards, they have when they have like a fight like that, and I think Bruce Leroy and Kevin Kroom will be fun. But like you never know with these cards, right? Like you can have a super stacked one and it goes all decisions, or you can have a card like last Saturday where you know some of the names, but there are a lot of finishes and a lot of excitement. And I think we're kind of in for a mixed batch here on Saturday.
As long as I see good fights, man, that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, finishes are great, but if it goes all 3 rounds or whatnot, and it's like an awesome back and forth battle or technical fight, or you know, if it's a war on the ground, war on the feet, as long as it's good and I'm enjoying it, and I see, you know, a good skill set, good entertainment, I'm happy, dude. But yeah, of course, I always want to see a finish. That's the you know, the number one thing a fan wants to see for sure. So, but yeah, you never know with these cards. It could be a sleeper.
I have a feeling that this one will be a sleeper. I mean, I'm more eyeing the main event just because I want to see what Gane can do up against, you know, a guy that was kind of pushing towards a heavyweight title opportunity. But as just some of those fights you've run down, I can expect we're in for a good night of violence on Saturday. Let's just put it that way.
I'm always down for that.
All right. Well, Josh, I'm gonna let you go, and before I do, always plug yourself out there. You know, get that IG plugged. As once again, still not on Twitter.
No Twitter. No, not Twitter, bro. At Gentleman J Hill on Instagram. I don't, man, social media, I understand it. Like I always say, I wish it never existed, but we have it. It's here. I'm going to limit myself to a certain amount just because I think it's more negative than positive.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially what as we talked about with the Blaydes story and stuff like that. A lot of people can use it for negative, but there's some positives, and I know you're one of them. You throw a lot of, hey, remember this back in the day out there on yours?
Those are my favorite now to do, to be honest. The one thing I like about social media is usually the memes is great, and then things like that where it's like, who had this when they were a kid? I remember this. Like, I like those things, the callbacks from years ago.
Yeah, like look, Bar Down, which is like the website for one of the blogs for TSN. They had the GT Racer commercial. I was like, we talked about that last week.
That's awesome. I remember exactly that commercial. I remember the box, too, when it came in with Brett Hull picture on it and his signature.
I did not know there was actually a Brett Hull GT, though, with his, like, 16 on the front. I had to Google that. I did not know there were actually, like, Brett Hull GT Racers.
Oh, really? I don't think mine was. I think it was just the regular black one. But
mine was, like, blue or yellow. I can't remember, but it got some serious air, though, that thing.
Yeah, those are deadly. I gotta get me another one of those.
Yeah, for you?
Well, it's gonna be for my kids, but it's gonna be for me.
It's definitely gonna be for you. Let's be real. Yeah. You're gonna be catching a lot of hill off the hill right there. So.
That's it.
All right. Well, Josh, have fun out there in California. I know you're out there for another week, so we'll be seeing you in this glorious room for next week, and then we'll be back in touch and breaking down this. Another exciting heavyweight matchup. But until then, Josh and everyone out there, we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
See you guys.